watch it?
No,
Why?
of course not. She doesn't watch many Western films.
Why?
Why what? Why hasn't she watched Square?
You have to take out the monster. I don't want any...
Why? It looks funny.
They don't pay us. They don't pay us!
You hurt my elbow.
And you hurt mine.
You can censor it. You're the one in charge of editing. Just put a black rectangle over it. Give it the Epstein treatment.
But then it's gonna look like we are covering something really awful, you know? And it's just like...
It's funny. It's the shitposter's drink.
Hypercarbonated, hypercaffeinated drinks that don't pay us to promote them.
But it's the shitposter's drink. I mean, I figured out this morning though on Instagram, someone had reverse engineered my legendary student combination to get completely wasted. For cheap. And it's half white Monster, half vodka. Someone on Instagram was posting that was that drink.
I used to do the same when I had to do a paper in a single night.
You can't drink vodka when you're finishing a paper.
No, but okay, not exactly the same.
When you're nearly done and you need to stay up and just do like all the little edits.
No, I mean, there are some times that I know I just don't need to be active. I also need like a burst of imagination to cover all the bullshit that I needed to write, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, coffee is not enough.
No.
I need something to give the boost of like mental activity.
Yeah.
So I had a coffee and then immediately after I had like a really high graduation beer.
Yeah.
Like 8 degrees or 9.
Yeah.
Just straight off the bat. I couldn't fall asleep, but I also was like buds enough to know that I was performing on at my best level, let's just say.
Well, sometimes when your standards are too high when you're editing a paper, you need some alcohol to reduce your standards a bit so you actually finish it.
It's not to reduce the standard, it's actually to like, it helped me then like get to different conclusions and like be more imaginative.
It puts you in a different mindset?
Exactly. It's the way that I connect the words and the way that I connect the ideas was a bit better when I needed that.
It loosens the tongue.
I just needed that. I know when I need it. It's really hard to explain.
Me and my friends used to do movie nights and stupid bullshit like that, and I'd come across one called RAED, the fucking movie or something like that. It's an incredible movie. We can do it on the pod sometime. There's a drinking game I invented to go with the movie. It's that good. The drinking game is like, drink when the audio is broken, drink when the screen is like pink, rectangle, finish your drink when someone's credit card information is shown on screen.
Wait, they do it in the movie?
Yeah.
Why?
It's made by an Australian meth addict. And it's a masterpiece of cinema. But then when we were doing the movie night, we were like, we need to be in the right mindset for this. So we were drinking White Monster and vodka. And that was it. And the best part of that drinking game, the final rule is finish your drink when he says, no, I'm not a homosexual. And then you get through the whole movie and he doesn't say it once. And you're right before the end and you're like, when's he going to say it? And you're not expecting it because it's like a press conference when the main methamphetamine addicted character gets out of some hostage crisis or something. And the reporter asks him, are you affiliated with terrorism? And he says, no, I'm not gay. and my friend was just like, his jaw just hit the floor. And he was like, Alfie, what the fuck?
What the fuck are you doing?
I was like, finish your drink, bro.
Wait, so you already knew when he was coming?
I'd watched the movie before. I wrote the drinking game for the movie for my friends. Because they could read the list of rules and go, what is this movie you're about to show us? What do you mean I have to finish my drink when someone's credit card information is shown on screen?
It reminds me like when I was, I think I was 18, yeah. It was my first year of undergraduate studies.
Yeah.
And I had already watched The Room once before that. Yeah. But me and my friends, for celebrating the end of the semester, we rented like a small house on the countryside.
Yeah.
And we just went there to like have a 3 days bender essentially.
And watch The Room.
And we were like, okay, we have to find like something really stupid to watch.
Yeah.
And I brought up The Room. And it's like, okay, we are watching a stupid film and a stupid drinking game with it. And I only put one rule. And I said, every time the main character laughs, you drink.
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot.
And he was like, they're like, it's only one rule. You're not gonna get anyone wasted by this. 20 minutes later, there is a guy like rolling down the stairs.
No, there's the best drinking game rules are always the one where there's only one rule.
Yeah.
And then The Room is the one where he laughs. There's one for B movie, which is just like any kind of B related pun or like joke. And then it's like
Oh yeah.
Because 90% of the humor in that film is like there's a bee joke.
Yeah, exactly. How many times do they see bee in the bee movie?
I can't remember what the other ones are. There's like Drink for a Shark in Sharknado or stuff like that.
There was I also watched it was a drinking game with a room that it was like if he says hi doggy, you have to like finish your drink. Yeah. But it's like overkill.
I think the one for Speed is like drink whenever they show the speedometer on the bus. You know, the Nick Cage movie Speed. I think it's Nick Cage. There's a movie called Speed where if the bus goes under 20 kilometers an hour, a bomb goes off and everyone on board dies.
That's Bruce Willis, I think.
Is it? It's Bruce Willis. Right, whatever. But the drinking game is like drink if the speedometer's on screen. The other one I can remember is Snakes on a Plane. You can guess. There's some great ones.
What is the movie about? Yeah, we should use one of them.
We should watch RAED because one of the ones in the drinking game is like the more common something happens, the less you do. You like one sip for this is for something that happens a lot, and one of them is one sip for whenever someone drinks kangaroo piss, which is like
oh, wow.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, I didn't see any particularly Australian about it until you told me like no, kangaroo piss.
Kangaroo piss comes up quite a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of swearing. There's a lot of the C word, which I won't repeat because you'll edit it out.
Or
you'll put a marker on the editing timeline for it.
So, welcome to our current episode. I was about to say the next one.
Wait, you forgot something. We have to cut this bit out, and if Paolo doesn't cut this bit out and put some music and a screen in, then he's fucked up.
What do you say?
Alvaro.
You didn't say Alvaro.
I just said Alvaro.
You didn't say Alvaro.
I'm going to gaslight you. I said Alvaro.
You didn't say Alvaro. You call me Paolo.
You can't say anything funny because this.
You call me Paolo again.
Yeah.
Dude, we have met each other for like what, 2.5 years?
Yeah.
You still get my name wrong?
That's your nickname.
That's not my nickname.
That's what I call you. Then it's
you don't call me that. You're not going to call me that. You can call me Major Tom. You can call me by my...
Major Tom is what it says in the description.
Exactly.
I don't even know where that came from. Well, I know it's David Bowie, but I thought you had a story behind it other than just picking a song.
I liked David Bowie when I was 16.
Okay.
Welcome
I guess I can't complain. The podcast...
Yeah, welcome to my life, Lord.
The podcast is named after a movie without anything else.
Exactly. No, but because the movie has your name and you're really... you're so fed up of yourself.
You're making the editing so much harder for yourself. There's a mid-roll. Now it's the introduction. Oh. My name's Alfie. This is Alvaro. This is episode 8.
8?
This is episode 8. The Days of Being Wild, and we're going to be talking about the 15th 5-year plan.
Which just came out.
It's not out. It's actually not released.
Not released, but you can already see the notes.
They're literally voting on it in the Great Hall of the People as we speak.
Yeah, but it's going to come out. I know.
They reject it.
Can you imagine?
If the vote doesn't pass,
it will be a surprise for everyone, I guess.
Yeah, the reason we're talking about it is because, everyone else is going to be talking about it over the next week.
Yeah.
CGTN and China Daily this morning have been putting out all of their pieces about it. So we can finally discuss it. It's like the review embargo is over for a video game.
Yeah,
we can finally discuss what's in the 15th 5-year plan.
Yeah, even if we already knew like some of the things that were going to come out in this 5-year plan, until the official media don't release any notes on it, you really don't know how much of it is true or not.
Yeah.
Now we have all the confirmation that from CGTN, CCTV, and Xinhua and all the media that all the measures are being voted right now, and we can now have a really good follow-up to the topic that we were discussing 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so if you haven't understood anything of what we've just said, well, first off, if you don't know where China is, or you don't know anything about Chinese history, we have 4 episodes on the history of China, including 2 on the modern history of China. And then we also have a newer episode about the 14th 5-year plan, which preceded this one, which are not required viewing. We'll probably do some more explaining, but if you want more context, then watch those.
Yes. So essentially for the newcomers that haven't watched any of the older episodes and who don't really know...
Fake fans.
Yeah, fake fans anyway, or newcomers. You're all welcome anyway. But for those who don't know, every 5 years, the measures that the government is going to implement into the governance of China for the next 5 years, given the redundancy, are voted. And this doesn't mean that for the following 5 years, no new measures are taken, no new laws are implemented. It just means like you have some general outlines, some general ideas that you follow, and some objectives that you give yourself to ensure that you have a clear objective, a clear idea of what should you be working towards in every region of China and in China as a whole. And this 14th five-year plan, which just began this year, this 2025. 14th? The 14th just finished.
Just finished. You
exactly.
said 14th. The 15th.
The 15th is about to come.
Yeah.
The 14th, we already covered that it was essentially just a massive success. All the objectives that they give themselves have been achieved.
They said they achieved everything in the 14th five-year plan, which is funny because they said they always set very realistic goals.
Exactly.
Like quite far below what they think they might achieve.
Yeah.
So they can say that they achieved everything.
That's what we were talking about, being conservative in the estimations of, for example, economic growth or unemployment rates and things like that. It also allows you to keep your head in the game, but also be sure that even if things go wrong, you still have some leeway to play with the numbers.
The significance of the 14th five-year plan is they put these conservative goals out and they were like, just in case anything happens.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic
The pandemic came right before the implementation of the 14th year plan,
right.
Which is what made them be more conservative in the estimations of what they could achieve.
And now the 15th five-year plan is being voted on in the shadow of the US and Israel war of aggression against Iran.
Yeah, I guess it's we are having right before every 5-year plan.
Yeah.
We have some event that I think really affects how they're going to see the following events.
The joke is whenever you listen to a podcast about the news, that the day that the podcast will be released, the day after they record it, something big will happen and they won't have discussed it on that episode.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with the 5-year plans where they come up with this really consolidated, grassroots-led set of goals for the country's organizations to achieve over the next 5 years. And then something comes along and fucks it all up. And now they're conservative goals where they're some marginal growth in GDP compared to our previous one. They will become a struggle to achieve. So alongside the 5-year plans, the two sessions currently, they are voting on the national targets for the year. This is something they do every year. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones that's kind of highlighted is the GDP target for this year is 4.5 to 5%, which is below 5% significantly. But they said 4.5 is okay because it's going to be quality GDP growth over quantity GDP growth.
That is also something that they have highlighted also in the 14th year plan.
Yeah.
They don't want economic growth by any means. They want quality economic growth.
But the target that everyone's going to be talking about over the next week is the consumer price index growth.
Yeah.
I don't even understand what consumer price index is.
I think every country estimates it in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
But essentially, I think, in cities like Beijing, the big cities, you can see that, for example, the price of the rent is going slightly down every year.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think it was an average of 2% year by year, which doesn't sound a lot if you say it like that, but over 10 years, it accumulates to quite a big deal.
Yeah.
It was also, people are talking about deflation in this aspect. And even if the deflation might be true because we can see that the rate of economic growth is slightly going down year by year because again China is slowly going out of the regime of being a developing country, and that also means they are going to grow slower from now on. But it also means that a couple of years ago the government implemented some new measures to control the rise of the rent prices in big cities, which is an ongoing problem. And still, renting in Beijing is really expensive. I mean, you can tell us. But yeah, it's also hard to see what part of these prices of consumer goods are going down is due to the deflation happening and which is part to actual measures implemented by the government to make the prices go down.
Yeah, so consumer price index is a measure of how much consumer goods cost over time. And it usually is a positive number, it's a positive percentage, a small amount of inflation is I guess better for the economy. It depends who you talk to. But the consumer price index is targeted to be 2% this year. And everyone's talking about this because that includes energy costs. And energy costs are going to be very, very hard to manage over the next year as basically the demand for oil massively outpaces the supply if the Strait of Hormuz is shut down, which is looking more likely, or it just some very, very upward pressure on oil costs. But China's in a very good position for this because they have massive strategic reserves for energy products.
Not only the reserves, but also the increasing supply of renewable energies.
Yeah.
Like they are investing massively, obviously in solar, but also in hydroelectric, wind energy, and also nuclear.
Yeah. So the green energy production last year, they announced at the two sessions, they said that the annual green energy production last year outpaced the entire energy demand of the European Union, which is mental. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
But so there's this thing where they're worried about the consumer price index increasing beyond 2% this year. And I think that's the thing that everyone's going to focus on instead of GDP growth. As the European economies and American economies undergo some massive shock because of the change in oil prices, China's going to look to limit their inflation to 2%, which they're going to do because their strategic reserves of oil won't last forever. No. And they are going to be using a lot of oil.
We still have to see what happens with the oil. I think it's quite early to say.
Everyone's anticipating that this is going to be the main challenge. If it isn't a challenge, then it's not worth discussing.
I think there is a big chance of it being the main challenge. But for that, we still have to see what happens with the ongoing regime change in Iran.
Yes.
And it's not clear what is going to happen because I don't know if you saw the Trump's, what Trump said a few days ago, that they also said they had two possible successors to Khomeini that they really like, but they also killed them in the strike.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're out of cards for now.
My personal opinion is that they don't have a long-term plan and this whole thing's going to be a fucking disaster.
I think they had a long-term plan, but they fucked it up.
Exactly.
The first day.
So
now they're just trying to scramble up things and see how can they get out or continue going in the best way possible for all their interests. But I think it's really early to say who is going to get the lowest scar on this.
Yeah, but I think it's fair enough to say that the oil supply is going to be disrupted for at least a month.
Yeah.
Which is going to fuck up the consumer price index of a lot of countries. Because it's going to increase energy costs in Europe.
Yeah, I think Europe is going to take the biggest shot.
Europe and India and Japan.
India
got a waiver. But
India got away because
the waiver is 1 month.
India got away because they can still buy the oil from Russia.
Exactly.
Europe cannot buy the oil from Russia, but they're also pushing Ukraine to do it.
Yeah. But they can only buy the oil for 1 month. And it doesn't matter. 1 month is nothing in the long term.
We're
talking about oil. Supply and demand goes on for 6 months and 7 months.
Exactly.
So Japan is fucked, basically.
Japan is on, yeah.
But when they have these strategic reserves, they use them to smooth out the shock when the price of something massively increases. Mm-hmm. So eventually, the energy price in China is probably going to increase and CPI will probably go above 2%, but over 2 years instead of 1 year because of this strategic reserve they have. But that means they're going to have to be very, very careful. And that's just the annual targets. The 5-year targets are further out. I think they're less vulnerable to these geopolitical shocks. Do you want to go over the main points, and then we'll go into detail? Okay.
Do you want to go first for the more economy-related points?
Well, so I just wanted to go point by point and say what people seem to be focusing on, because last time the focus was very much on R&D and building up a secure economy and a safe China. And this time, the 3 main points that people seem to be focusing on are building up real economic growth instead of just pumping up the GDP by more than 5% every year with random, Ponzi schemes or something.
Yeah, we also explained before, we gave the example of the real economic growth of the USA being absurdly low if you take out of the equation,
you take out the AI stuff.
all the AI stuff, all the NVIDIA commerce, OpenAI, all if you take out all of their economic activities, the total economic growth amounts to, I think it was like 0.4%, which is nothing.
So the main thing that the government and foreign press and domestic press are focusing on are measures to improve the real economy and where the government's going to be investing over the next 5 years. Then it's where they're going to look for science and technology innovation. So they're moving from, well, they're not moving entirely from R&D. They're still focusing on R&D.
R&D still has a big...
Yeah, but they've emphasized new areas for R&D, and they've emphasized methods to bring emerging technologies into commercial applications. And they've talked a lot more about concrete measures to commercialize these technologies. And then finally, alongside the real economy, what everyone's asking about is domestic consumption. Because they highlighted in the last 5-year plan that they wanted to increase domestic consumption, and everyone was very happy about that. And then that's probably, I think, one of the weaker areas of the last 5-year plan. And this one is, what everyone's asking about is how can they increase wages and stop Chinese people saving all their money and have them spend it instead.
Well, I guess in some aspect, even if the domestic consumption has been an ongoing topic for the last at least 2 5-year plans.
Yeah.
The 14th-year plan, I think one of its main success was changing the branding that the made in China sentence had to it.
Yeah.
Now they really have successfully developed a more interconnected consumers network in their own country. And you can see that the people are really choosing China-made products in many things like technology, food, beverages, whatever, over the foreign brands, which is one of the things that they wanted to achieve, and they really have so far. And now also the tables have turned. Now people in Europe and the USA are also looking at the Chinese brands with a more favorable eyes. And now they also want to keep expanding this idea into like boosting the consumption overall to also help with this deflation effect that we have mentioned before. But before going to that, I also found like some specific numbers about the R&D, because R&D also took a big chunk of the 14th 5-year plan. We had the objective of raise the R&D investment by 7% year by year. What?
Yeah. Nothing. You complained we were sitting too far away in the last episode, so I thought
sure. Okay, yeah.
But then I can't look at you.
No, but before we were looking like the 2 bros chilling in a hot tub.
2 bros chilling in the hot tub, 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
5 feet apart because they're not gay.
Debatable. Anyway.
You can edit that in. You can edit that in.
Could I?
You should, I think.
I should. Anyway, as we were saying, now they want to keep expanding this. Well, not expanding. They actually just want to maintain this objective of raising the investment into R&D by 7%. And they mention also some very specific fields, some investment and research that they want to implement into. Mostly AI, semiconductors, and quantum information, biomanufacturing, and 6G. Of this, there are no big news except for 6G, because it's the first time that I see it like mentioning one of these.
I thought the quantum one was quite big. I was going to talk about that a little bit.
Quantum computing has also been a hot topic for the last year, but 6G, everyone knows that they are developing it, but...
We're technology nerds, so we're going to argue about the technology for half an hour now.
Yeah, I think if you just want, you just can
skip 30 minutes if you want to hear us bullshit about economics we don't understand.
But yeah, we have said before, like 6G is expected to be fully realized by 2030, the latest. Yeah. And now is the first time they're also like looking forward to it in a 5-year plan, because this 5-year plan is hopefully going to see the beginning of the implementation of 6G. So they want to like give the final boost before we can really see the applications of it. Biomanufacturing is also like a hot topic, a hot research topic, but it still is much more far away.
Why is biomanufacturing so big?
And biomanufacturing is
it because they want like domestic vaccine production or something? Or like they talk about hormones? Or
it can refer to many aspects.
Weight loss jabs.
It can mean many things. They haven't explicitly stated what they are talking about, but it can also mean like improving the manufacturing of their own drugs and vaccines and medicines as a whole, which is one of the main points that they have already stated. They want to have a strong drug manufacturing.
I
industry in our country.
It's one of the last industries that America kind of has a stranglehold on.
Yeah.
Is pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
So I think it's understandable that China's focusing on that area. It's worth pointing out that we're kind of speculating based on the draft outline of the 5-year plan that was released yesterday. That would be the 5th of March. By the time the episode comes out next week, there might be a bit more detail about exactly what we're talking about. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe they just get a bit finer on their claims and their expectations.
Maybe they say they're focusing on the 5-year plan for weight loss jabs or something.
Who knows? We're gonna see anyway. We know as much as you do by the time that we are recording. But yeah, it is expected that the research and development, investment and growth as a whole is gonna keep going at the same rate that it has been for the last 5 years, if not more. Because in the last 14-year plan, they also managed to overcome their expectations. So good news for that. And also in the aspect of the boosting the domestic demand of live household consumption, they wanted
we can't skip that. We've got to talk about R&D for 25 more minutes. I want to talk about R&D.
Okay, you go.
So the other thing is quantum computing and embodied AI. So their AI focus now is they've got their national computing network, which I think is where they're going to build their AI models for private companies. But embodied AI is what they're talking about when it comes to AI a lot of the time, which is visual models and control algorithms for humanoid robotics, which we're going to be talking about in about an hour for the week after with the Spring Gala. But it's interesting that they're focusing on embodied AI because it kind of ties into another part of their R&D stuff. So they're talking about the R&D technology that they developed or matured during the last 5-year plan, using that to upgrade their current industries, which means that the next 5-year plan, it's maybe something we talked about in the last episode, is taking AI systems and using them to make existing industry chains more efficient.
Yeah.
So stuff like everyone's seen the autonomous vehicle, delivery vehicles, stuff like applying AI to that, or applying AI in, what do they call them, dark factories, the ones where they turn off all the lights and let the robots do it.
Oh, yeah.
This is what's being implied when they talk about using embodied AI to upgrade current industry chains. I'm not saying by 2030 we're going to have humanoid robots walking around, I don't know, assembling.
I think it would be
but they're going
really pessimistic.
They one of the things that was mentioned was they've trialed embodied AI, they've trialed humanoid robots in the car factories, and they've said they're half as efficient as people, which I think is quite impressive.
Yeah.
Because not bad, but still there's a long way to go, and I think that's what they're talking about when they talk about embodied AI in the 5-year plan.
I mean, we still have to see how it develops, but it's also clear that China has managed to get a hold of the whole AI development industry in just a couple of years, which is a big surprise when we started seeing news about ChatGPT and OpenAI 4 years ago. China hadn't even started publishing their own models or anything like that. And in the last 2 years, we have got DeepSeek, we have got Kimi, we have got Doubao.
Yeah. Scary Doubao lady.
Yeah. So you have a lot of different models for Chinese.
60
models.
60. Oh, wait, no, it might have been more actually.
I'm not into AI.
The CGT, no, is one of the things I saw this morning. The CGTN video talking about AI in the new 5-year plan is no, it was way more than 60. I think it was 500, 1,200, something like that. They had 60 AI models, and they were showing it off like that, which doesn't make sense because an AI model can be really small or it can be really big.
Exactly, it can be really specific for just a few tasks, or it can be really general, Doubao or DeepSeek.
The government views their AI models like they view a domestic car brand or something. They're we have a new AI model, let's put it into the statistics. It's something physical for them. It's the training and completion of a model.
I guess in many cases it's not even a real AI model, but rather a large language learning.
It could also just be DeepSeek V2. That's the second one. I don't know how they're counting this.
Exactly, or a language learning model, which is different. It's a smaller step of the development.
I don't think the new 5-year plan is going to have, we need to develop 2,000 new models because it's a meaningless metric. But I think they're going to have, planning for better training.
Because we also say in the last episode about the 14th-year plan, how they are also trying to focus on the idea, like, even if we want to be leaders in many strategic industries, it doesn't mean like we need to have every region of China being one of the leaders, you know?
Yeah.
Like, maybe you don't need a top of the industry car brand in every region. You just want to have 5 of them, and they are scattered across the country.
Something interesting is in the last 5-year plan, we got the like regionalization of R&D.
Yeah.
So you had the 3 main regions, the Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei region, the Greater Bay Area, and the Yangtze River Delta. It's 3 separate regions that were like mentioned, like dotted here and there in the reports as like the 3 main focuses for R&D development. Now it's explicit. It is like, here's what these 3 areas will do.
Yes.
Every single part of the 5-year plan now mentions those 3 areas as areas to focus on. They now have a new unfortunate name. They're calling it a mosaic of technology, which like is directly mirrors the mosaic military planning strategy in Iran.
Yeah.
They use the same word, but the mosaic of technology is these 3 areas.
Unlucky naming, they couldn't say it coming.
What I'm happy about is that the Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei region has now conveniently absorbed the Haiyang Yantai Oriental Spaceport as like part of the planning.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. Like, they want each region, each development area to specialize in a certain area of development, given the redundancy. Which is a much smarter strategy. They don't need to be so extra in every field, in every minor city that you encounter in the country, you know, which also makes a lot of sense. But yeah, going to the part of the AI, I think it's also like worth mentioning, like how even if the USA mostly, because you don't see many independently developed models in Europe, but the USA has really advanced models on their own too, but you don't see many real applications in the foreseeable future, you know? Yeah, apart from the consumer aspect or the militaristic aspect, which we already know more than ever.
Well, it's either swarm drones for killing people, or it's like Grok making gooning.
Yeah, exactly.
Grok.
Or Claude, help me capture Maduro. Essentially, that's all the uses that they are giving it. But here in China, you can see that they want to really implement AI into, well, the actual areas where AI can be helpful for the development of the economy as a whole. And I think not only, well, the manufacturing industry is of course a big shot at it, but they also mentioned, for example, using the image analysis models used in medicine to help, for example, detect cancer really early on and begin the treatments way earlier. These kind of things is the real applications that the people want to see for AI.
Yeah, China has the first cancer detection, like rare cancer detection AI model that's passed clinical trials and is now in use. I think it is for your spleen. If you go in for a spleen spleen imaging exam, whatever here, then you can opt in. It's opt-in. But they say like, oh, we won't charge you anything extra. We'll just put it in this AI model and we'll see if you have any rare tumors. And it's like a very small number. It's less than a percentage of people who have cancer have this. Sorry, it's less than a percentage of people who even have a problem with their spleen have this kind of rare form of cancer. And they've used it to help a lot of people. I mean, it has quite a high like false positive rate. But for those people who go in and they get told you have cancer, and then it's like, oh no, it's a false positive from our AI model. Those people are kind of pissed off. But it's saved so many fucking lives at this point.
I mean, it's really fair to be pissed off, but the false positive is nothing. I mean, it's something that you can have with every trial technique.
I think
you have it everywhere.
Yeah, if I told you have cancer, 1% chance of me being wrong, pay 700 RMB to go and get the real exam to go see if you have it. I think you would pay that. I don't think you would be like, no, 1% false positive, I don't mind.
Yeah, exactly. I think 1% is not...
It's probably more. It might be like 5% or something. But
whatever.
Pay £70 to see if you have cancer, 95% chance
exactly.
to do.
No, I don't think it's... Like, I mean, I can understand people like getting in the bad news like that or being pissed off for like paying for nothing in the end. But I think with these things, the people that do pay it and they find like they can begin the treatment early, and that means they're really gonna live for sure. Because if you detect it like so early in such an early stage, it's really sure that you're gonna be completely cured of it. Well, yeah, I think it's a worth investment, you know. hey, you pay £70 to keep living for another 30 years.
The other thing is like, I mean, if you want to move on from AI, I don't mind if we want to keep talking about it.
I'm not so... no, I mean, I don't know so much about AI. It's not my
They haven't released all the details. We could see like the AI thing being like, right, China's going to develop our own like Goonslop algorithm, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
No, I don't think that's going to happen, definitely.
I think it's fair enough to say that, yeah, we're going to use it for medical applications and, build like silly LLMs, of course. We can't live without those.
I mean, you also have to build the silly LLMs because that is also like what the public sees in the most immediate way.
We need a dedicated text-to-video model for bad subway advertisements in China.
Please. Please. When they say, oh yeah, we're going to crack down on the AI-generated media for historical
dramas.
Historical dramas.
I was impregnated by a dragon prince with nine sons.
And you go into the subway. I go now. The last time that I saw it was in the Sedan station.
We can edit in the China customs, the new "Come to China, build a factory."
Please no.
Build a factory.
Because you know who publishes first before you even send me.
Chen Weihua, shout out. He publishes
the biggest hater on Twitter.
China. It's the Immigration Bureau. They made the video, and then everyone else has been republishing it.
Yeah. To who did he call?
Chen Weihua called, I thought it was a news presenter. He called
No. It was a USA Democrat,
Nancy Pelosi.
I wish it was Nancy Pelosi. I mean, because he's really a bitch.
No, it's someone a long time ago. I think they're out of politics now. Yeah, quantum computing, come on.
Computing.
They've mentioned it before, but they didn't mention an application. We now know what the Chinese government wants to use quantum computing for.
What do they want it?
Cryptography for military applications, because that's what America wants to use it for. They want quantum key cryptography satellites as soon as possible because that's what America's building. Kind of satellites that are satellite communications that are almost impervious to decryption.
Well, I guess for now it's like the only single possible use for quantum computing.
Exactly. So, it is the only use, but they have specifically mentioned that quantum computing and that R&D is for defense.
Yeah.
Which means that's what it's for. It's for quantum key distribution where you have your cryptography key is stored in like a qubit, like a superposition.
Yeah.
Which means that without another quantum computer, you can't decrypt it.
And it also means if you try to intercept it, if you try to intercept the signal, you collapse the wave function and you cannot read it.
Yeah, you can't read it.
So if you cannot read it, no one else can.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest way to be sure of
that's the only
encrypted data.
I'm sure they'll find other applications when we get more qubits that are like stable enough to do processes on. But
how many qubits are around now?
The Google proposal, the crazy one, is they have like a new way of, I think every quantum computing research is like a new way of making qubits and storing qubits and processing them. The latest Google one said that they're aiming for like 64 or something like that. But they haven't built the chip yet. They've just built the technology that says theoretically we can sustain 60. I mean, 64 is a lot.
I mean, 5 years ago we were talking about 3.
Yeah,
so
I think IBM's plan was the most ambitious and they have not gone anywhere with it. I think Google is the one that people are hyping up, but they just have this like hype video that they put out last year, which is like 30 minutes long and says, we've got a new way of doing qubits.
Quantum computing was a thing that had a lot of hype. They had a massive hype train going after it like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
People suddenly realized like, you're not going to see any real world applications for the consumers, at least in your lifetime. Forget about it.
But
it's when used for really niche applications.
When cryptocurrency started off the chain of like massive consumer investment into speculation like on technology, you got the cryptocurrency and then you got the AI and then you got the quantum computing. You get these timelines that people proposed in 2015 suddenly accelerate and everyone accepts like, oh, it's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Last night I was reading because there was, do you remember Wait But Why? I don't know. Wait But Why is a famous blog in the 2010s.
No idea.
They did a bunch of like brown nosing for Elon Musk and AI in 2015, but they wrote it in this like really rationalist way. It's like kind of semi-Silicon Valley. it was really approachable in the 2010s, and it was like kind of groundbreaking. This like internet blog that was talking about AI in a approachable way, where it was like AGI is like 50 or 60 or 70 or 100 years away, but it's really scary when it comes.
Yeah.
It was like summarizing all this like philosophy that would then become like the hype of like Elon Musk saying AGI is going to be 20 years away and it's going to kill us all, and then it would become the LLM slop that we have now. But reading it is so funny because it's completely outdated, where every single person he cites is either now like went through OpenAI and then to like XAI or to wherever, or they're like Epstein funded. Like I kept clicking like the Wikipedia links in it to people, different investors, and it was like so-and-so received money from Epstein, and now they disavow everything they said.
Yeah, but that is like a common practice that you see with everyone that has been involved with this guy. Like no one knew what he was doing. I just thought he was really a nice, chill guy.
Everyone knows the AI LLM hype cycle is dying, and that's what's addressed in the 15th five-year plan.
I think the hype train is dying, but
the technology's true purpose is being revealed, which is killing civilians and detecting cancer.
Killing civilians, snatching like leaders from other countries that you don't really like, in the case of the USA, and detecting cancer. But I think there is when the hype train of a technology really dies, that is when you actually start to see the actual development. Yeah. The development that people really care about it for.
Definitely.
Because you have to build a hype train for people to catch, like there is this new promising technology going on. In the case of AI, you need to make cringy videos that no one really likes, and you can convince your grandma that of really like crazy news going around.
Okay.
But other than that, you are not gonna use it for your daily life in any practical way. Then when you really stop caring about it, you have already used all that development of that technology to build a real application. Like, as we were saying before, you have many medical applications, most of them also related to manufacturing industry as a whole. And I guess we are gonna see many more. But now I don't really see AGI happening only 60 years away.
And then the funniest,
it's gonna happen way earlier.
No, the craziest thing was because everyone was talking about how it's just around the corner in the last like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And then the blog post was like, oh, the craziest, most optimistic people propose AGI by 2030. So like, that's how the hype cycle increased, is like the crazy Epstein funded guy that made the Sophia robot, the like Saudi like lady robot. Do you remember that fucking
thing? Unfortunately I do.
He's the craziest one. He said AGI by 2030 in 2015. And now he seems reasonable because these people say it's coming next year. Like
everyone says it's coming next year for the last 5 years.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
like the guy getting funded by Epstein to like do a bunch of hype and made this like shitty robot is like now seems reasonable compared to the like hype merchants that we have.
Yeah, and if you believe what people like Elon Musk are saying, like he promised to take us to Mars in 10 years, and he said that in 2010.
Well, that's the other thing.
Exactly.
Half of the Weibo Wire articles are about the Mars stuff, and it's kind of got me into it.
In general, don't trust people telling you the hype when their only source of income is building hype.
Yeah.
That's not the way to do things. I don't see AGI happening in 2030, but maybe I do see it happening in 2035 or 2040.
Should we talk about economics for 20 minutes?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
We were talking about the market consumption, and I also have some data, some specific numbers that they have dropped. And they want to lift the household consumption to 45% of GDP by 2030, from the 40% that it is actually, like nowadays. 1% year-by-year growth, I think, is a really reasonable objective, and I'm really sure they're gonna achieve it.
There's this kind of hidden conflict here, right? The Chinese government wants to grow the real economy, and they want to have household consumption by 45%. So what they don't want is people spending all their money on real estate, because they've seen the problems with that, and they don't want people investing their household money into shitty tech companies or cryptocurrency. They want the real economy to build, which is kind of strange because it conflicts with what foreign journalists want. Western countries also want an increase in domestic consumption, but they don't want the Chinese to buy Chinese-made real goods. They don't want the like Chinese lifestyle to increase. They actually just want the amount of money that Chinese people spend on household goods to increase, or they want them to increase that spending on foreign goods because they want to sell stuff to China, or they want to sell them financial products. The IMF has been very, very happy with the 15 5-year plan and even the 14 5-year plan because they want an increase in domestic spending, because they want more foreign goods to come into China, because they view the trade deficit with China as something really bad. They think that an increase in domestic consumption means that China will address the trade imbalances with Western countries.
And I think they're so wrong about it.
So there's this interview with Marshall Mills, which incredible. That's like a Paul Thomas Anderson name, like the fucking calling your IMF like Keynesian economics. Marshall Mills is incredible. He did this interview where he said the Chinese government approach is wrong, and they should increase the share of consumption in the economy by having Chinese people increase the amount of money they spend on healthcare and insurance, which is incredible. And that was published by China Daily. Is this very scary looking IMF guy, like full head of hair, which is a rarity for
these guys.
For these guys, completely white, sticking up. He does look like a scary guy in a fucking area.
It reminds me like the guy from The Good Place, the actor.
He kind of, for me, yes, actually he did look exactly like that. But he reminded me...
Ted Danson, I think.
Yeah. So we haven't watched One Battle After Another. You haven't watched it.
I haven't.
But I've watched it. And the antagonist of that movie is, I compare it to like, Marshall Mills is the economics version of the scary military man in that film. They have a very horny military man, and his name is Sergeant Lockjaw or General Lockjaw. And
tell me they did it on purpose.
They did it on purpose. Of course they did it on purpose.
God.
But Marshall Mills is like, yeah, we've got the guy who's the IMF, World Bank, fucking. He may as well work for the US Treasury, the money mill.
Yeah.
The printing money.
He's bringing money.
Don't let him fuck with the Chinese money, is what I'm saying, because China wants to increase domestic spending by increasing the quality of life for people.
Yeah.
Something that's mentioned in one of the reports, which I don't see mentioned anywhere else, but I think is something we were discussing, is increasing the amount of holiday.
Yeah, I was about to go that.
Let's go there. That's probably the most significant thing. Let's go there right now.
Because that is the biggest point, the one that made me the most happy about this 15th-year plan.
Yeah.
Because it is something that if you go around asking people, they are addressing very important stuff about the workers' rights and the workers' feeling of safety related to the safety network that the workplace can provide for them in case of any accident or in case like you need to take a paid leave. And many people that I have talked about this with, they mentioned that they feel like maybe the situation in their workplace hasn't improved in the last few years, and they sometimes complain like they don't see any specific measure taken on a national level to address this problem, and now they're actually doing it.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention the specific measures, or do you want me to begin with?
So we don't know all of the specific measures, but the workplace stuff I saw was that primary schools. What am I talking about? Students, kids under 18 will now get spring and autumn holidays. So separate from the spring festival holiday and separate from the mid-autumn festival, they're going to get, I presume, like week-long. Like we have like half terms.
Yes.
I think they're going to introduce half terms, is what it says. And this is the craziest part, they're going to try and mandate paid leave for like a lot of white-collar workers. So paid leave is something that a lot of companies do offer, but if you take it, you'll basically be relegated to like the bottom rung of your workplace. Like a Japanese kind of work economy thing where, you have these benefits, but if you ever take them, we're going to fucking punish you for it.
Yeah, exactly. But
paid leave that is mandated from the government is something that they can't really fuck you over on.
It's huge. I think it's the biggest, the best news that many workers in this country could get. I'm really happy about it to hear.
And it makes sense that in combination with this stuff, it's like, right, well, we've got spring and autumn holidays for kids, but that doesn't coincide with like national holidays because the economy needs to keep going. But instead, if what we do is we introduce voluntary paid leave for white-collar workers, then they can spend that. And I mean, most people here are like gig economy workers too, where they don't have the paid leave, but they can take that time off. Then it'll be like, a lot of people will take paid leave off during those holidays, or they'll take extra time off the rest of the year if they don't have kids.
Exactly.
To travel.
Also, another of the measures that they have mentioned is the improving of the counseling of the holidays. This means that improving the conditions for spouses to take the holidays, the days, the paid leave, and the days off when they need it at the same time in conjunction, to also help manage the time with the family. And well, now you're also increasing the time of holidays for kids under 18. You also need to have at least one of the parents to take care of them or to accompany them or whatever. So you also have to take measures for the whole families to be able to adapt to this change. And that is also what they are taking into account.
Yeah, I think when we were discussing it, I wrote something in our chat like, long live the party, no surrender, 4-day week and a 3-day bender.
Exactly. That's going to be our motto from now on. But obviously there is another side of it. This is not done only to improve the workers' conditions, which is also that it was really claimed until now. Many people were asking for it and they deliver, but also to an attempt to improve the natality of the country. Yeah, they want to make people feel more comfortable with having kids and take out one of the main concerns that it is how to counsel work life and family life if you suddenly have a kid. If you don't have any support from your workplace, of course, this is completely impossible.
Yeah. You can't, a lot of young people in China can't have kids even if they wanted to, because the work life basically doesn't allow it.
Exactly.
If you're a lady and you get pregnant, then, the conditions for you are quite poor. After you have your kid, your career is never going to recover from that. It's the same in Western countries, but the Chinese government is making signs of trying to address this to theoretically increase the birth rate. Whether it's successful or not, we'll see.
It's going to be successful.
There's arguments to be said that the damage has been done and the gender war is so ingrained in the country that there's a lot of cultural reasons.
Yeah, but we don't listen to those people because we know what are their political stances.
Exactly. The material conditions probably play the biggest factor here, because the parents are going to beg their kids to have kids,
And it's not also I know many people who do want to have kids, but they're how can I then keep working? How can I be sure that after having a kid, I'm going to keep my job? Who do I leave my kids with if I cannot bring my family over?
So this is big news for the middle class, the white collar workers who are in their 20s and 30s in China. The other big stuff that people are talking about is measures taken to maybe not formalize, but improve the gig economy in China. So something that China Daily talks about in one of the sources that I'll post is that in the gig economy, there's a massive gender disparity where male workers focus on geospatial gig economy. So this is delivery drivers, whether that's your Kuaidi, your packages, or your Waimai, and taxi drivers. And ladies focus more on, this isn't me, this is the statistics, but cloud-based gig economy, so live streaming and online sales and online consulting. And what they want to do is either literally just provide government subsidies for these people so they don't have to work such long hours, or kind of formalize and take measures to boost those economies and boost the rights of those people. So hopefully, fucking fingers crossed, giving the Meituan drivers a bit more of a stable income, and giving them some more time off.
We were already commenting on a past episode how these live streaming services like Douyin or Xiaohongshu or whatever, they also allow people to have to take this kind of gig economy, a gig job, to build their own small e-commerce, or to just live out of the earnings from live streaming and things like that. And this also takes many people away from poverty, especially in rural areas, or also to a lesser extent, but also in bigger cities. But these measures that we have mentioned now, in conjunction with also one of the measures that is also explicitly stated into the 15th year plan, which is raising the urban population to 70%.
Yeah,
I think is in conjunction. All of this obviously takes wants to be aimed at improving the natality of the country. Now you say okay, we're improving your standard of life. We are giving you more money to spend. We are trying to maintain the the price is stable, while at the same time improving your income and your time off and your safety when you take your paid leave at your workplace. We are also improving the measures for you to be able to move your family to the city or to move out to another place if you need to conceal your whole family life in the event of having a kid or just expanding your family in any other way. So of course, each of these measures on their own are not enough to drive the natality or to improve the quality of life meaningfully. But the government knows if we do all of these things at once, if we promote all of these things, we're going to see a really noticeable effect. And that is what I'm hoping it will happen. I'm really sure it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to take years to see it.
We're going to talk about rural stuff now, I think.
Yes.
Because the other part of that is encouraging people to move from rural areas into the cities, which is still an ongoing process. They want to modernize agriculture and really revitalize rural areas, which I think means improving transport links and trying to make life in the rural areas more streamlined. So people do have more time to either visit their relatives in the city, spend more time in the city, or literally just to decrease the amount of jobs required in the countryside to encourage more people to move into urban areas.
I want to read this also in another way. And to me, it comes like a double-edged sword. Not only it goes at attempting to improve the connection between the rural areas and the cities, but also developing the rural areas up to an urban standard. I don't know if I'm explaining myself here.
Urban standard, what? Like infrastructure urban standard?
Infrastructure.
Healthcare and education.
Infrastructure as a whole, and also like households and everything like that. If you drive the development of these areas up to a greater standard, you can also see that you are increasing the percentage of people living in urban areas.
Yeah.
And that is also another way that they are not explicitly stating, but I can guess it's one of the things that they're also doing. I mean, you can see that they are doing it nowadays.
Yeah.
So I guess the way that you measure when a rural area becomes urban, it goes by the infrastructure that you can find, like such as hospitals, schools, public transportation, etc. So if you also increase all of these services, you're also expanding the definition of urban.
I mean, you could literally see like more townships and villages being absorbed into large areas.
Yeah.
As the development of like second and third tier cities in China increases, you don't want the situation where your urban area expands out into a rural area and the rural area doesn't modernize, and then you get like your urban village, which has to be demolished and rebuilt. I think if they can succeed in their process of revitalizing rural areas that are just outside cities and increasing transport links between them and the city, that transitions from a rural area into a like new urban area that just happens to be adjacent to a city.
And going back to the worker conditions that we were mentioning before, I also want to mention, I forgot to say it before, but they have included also the requirement that companies must not illegally extend workers' working hours, which is also a claim to heaven that people have been saying for a really long time.
Huawei workers are like crying reading that because they're finally going to be let out of the office.
They're going to see their families for the first time in 2 years.
Exactly. Their supervisor's going to come and like unlock the door and they're going to see the sunlight for the first time.
Cutting the chains. So yeah, everyone is really happy about that. I guess it also means not directly stating that you cannot work overtime, but also from now on, if you work overtime, you also have to be paid in accordance to it, in accordance to the industry standard or whatever, or to some conditions that you have to accept before signing the contract, obviously. Anyway, you have to also take into account that many people in China are working overtime for free, essentially, and that is also another way of industry exploitation. And it's really nice to see that they are cutting it off from the root, even if it's a bit late, even if it's like clearly taken step by step, but they are doing efforts to acknowledge it.
The other thing, I think the final point we're going to talk about, because we're just about to hit an hour, is the environmental stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, surprisingly focused on, I can't speak after 50 minutes. A surprising area of focus in the 15-5-year plan.
Because you didn't take your Monster vodka. Yeah,
I didn't have the Monster vodka. That's for the next episode if we record. This kind of most surprising one that I've seen is a renewed focus on environmental protection. So I don't know what happened in the last 5 years, because I always thought the environmental protection in China was quite good. But I think they're now going to bring the environmental protections we've seen in first-tier cities to the second and third-tier cities. And they're also taking environmental protections they've done in places like Zhejiang to less developed provinces with more industry. Mm-hmm. One of the things that they focused on is small bodies of water that have been tainted by industry. So they've done a lot of like preventing pollution of like large rivers or waterways or large lakes, like getting rid of the factories that are pumping fucking God knows what into them. But there's still a problem of like smaller bodies of water that are like rancid and like full of like waste products. And they're now going to like fucking, I don't know, I can just imagine a bunch of police like marching up to the top of a mountain and like finding some guys like, I don't know, like ink manufacturing plant and like going and shutting it down or something.
I think there is one of the possible outcomes of all of this. I can see it happening.
Yeah, there's always been like local projects to increase the stewardship of the environment, and they've always been in areas that have like good access to urban places, mm-hmm. because it's easy to go out there and enforce the rules, and there's been less regulation in harder to reach areas. Or areas where, for example, crop burning is necessary to fertilize the soil in like Shanxi. Yeah. And they want to increase the air quality and water quality in rural areas. This actually includes they had a fishing ban in the Yangtze River, but it was like 5 or 6 day kind of rotating thing with the seasons. And they're saying that in the 15th five-year plan, it might be a permanent fishing ban in the Yangtze River. And like, now they don't have to worry about protected species that they were previously putting fishing bans on being accidentally fished during those fishing things. So they're saying that the Yangtze River porpoises will now, their population will like explode, because there's now like no longer like weekend fishing or seasonal fishing where protected species accidentally get caught or get caught without anyone noticing. There's now like going to be a permanent like fishing ban and stuff like that.
Going also after the thing about protecting the environment and everything like that, they also want to obviously increase the share of renewable energies into the overall energy grid, which is again nothing new. It's a trend that has been going on for the last God knows how many years, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also good to see that they are still acknowledging it and saying that it is a trend that has to continue. Obviously, I think we already know what is the current state of the development of solar, wind, and hydro energy here in China, and the implementation that is seen, but also the development of Generation 4 nuclear reactors, which essentially brings up the nuclear energy up to the standard of being called renewable energy. Because in these reactors, you are essentially creating fuel from elements that before couldn't be classified as fuel. You transform non-fissile material into fissile material. Fusion energy is nowhere to be seen in the following at least 15 years, I guess, being really optimistic. But it's also good that in the meantime, we also have a way to extract all the power and all the benefits from all the resources that they are mining. These Generation 4 reactors, for example, some of the designs run on thorium, which is until now is a byproduct of the extraction of other minerals, and they didn't really have any use for it until now. And you're essentially just creating energy almost for free from something that you don't need to worry about completely using up like other energy sources.
Right. We're going to finish off this episode in a second, but before we do, I have a reading challenge for you. I want to test your Chinese, because I can't read it either. I want you to try and read this, which is a quote from the big man.
日水青山，也是阴山，阴山.
Very good. What my friend Alvaro Paulo just said is, he just said, clear waters and green mountains are mountains of gold and silver. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.
The Days of Being Wild.
See you next week.
See you next time.